Hey everybody, Hoosier Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking episode 22 of Avengers Assemble called Guardians and Space Knights. And I'm not really too thrilled with the title of this episode simply because the Space Knights are an actual organization in the Marvel Universe. Rom being the best known of the Space Knights. Actually, his Rom the Space Knight series is where Rogue from the X-Men, of all people, made her very first appearance. But the Space Knights are just kind of really a footnote these days in the Marvel Universe. But still, why not just call it Guardians and Avengers? But whatever. So, this episode is yet another appearance by the Guardians of the Galaxy in the animated Marvel Universe. And, of course, this is no surprise. Everybody wants to do everything they can to really gear up for the next big Marvel movie now that Captain America has come out. And, of course, that is Guardians of the Galaxy. And I think Marvel is really being smart here, and they're trying to really plant the Guardians alongside the Avengers as just another Marvel team that everybody knows. Everybody knows that the Guardians of the Galaxy are Marvel characters in the way that people know that the X-Men and the Fantastic Four are Marvel characters, or that the Teen Titans and the Justice League are DC teams. Did I call the you get what I'm saying. Now, anyway, I kind of had an inkling as to what was Tony's plan was going to be pretty much as soon as he started going on over there. It's actually interesting if you read the What If comics, which are basically sort of alternate reality stories where Marvel shows you, like, well, how events from well-known stories might have played out differently, or they can sometimes be just more straight, more fantastical alternate universe looks at heroes. There have actually been a few stories where different Marvel heroes ended up becoming heralds of Galactus. There was one story where the entire Fantastic Four became Galactus's heralds. There was another story where, in order to spare Earth, Thor had to agree to become Galactus's herald. In fact, I think there was even one where the Hulk was a herald of Galactus. So, Iron Man as a herald of Galactus is really not that far out there in terms of stuff that's already been established in the comics. And of course, it plays out really well here. Overall, I have to say, this is a pretty well-written episode. My only real complaint is that everybody seems to be pretty quick to forgive Tony for the whole, hey, running off and doing his own thing and not listening to basically not listening to Captain America, just sort of, and basically kind of sending the message that, well, you can ignore your friends and your teammates and run off and do your own thing if you think it's what right is right, so long as everything works out in the end in your favor. I mean, if Tony had been wrong, yeah. Yeah. And of course, I think that's a rather questionable message to put out there, but I might just be thinking about this all a little bit too much. The whole thing, what they were really trying to do is say, hey, Tony is super, super smart, and the Avengers trust him. Now, again, I'm not even going to bother bringing up the contradictions of this and stuff we've seen in previous episodes, because it's sadly obvious that the people who make the show don't really pay attention to that. There's really very little in terms of character growth with this show, which is one of the most disappointing things about it. But anyway, seeing the Avengers alongside the Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously this is very cool stuff. And of course, this being a comic book store, we have to get the obligatory the heroes fight sequence in, because that's just what you do in stories like this, because it's fun to watch heroes fight other heroes and see, who matches up with who. They go a long way of showing that, yeah, Hulk is still stronger than everybody out there, that Rocket Raccoon is smarter than Falcon, and all this other fun stuff. And of course, at the end of the day, the heroes, I love how they even say the word misunderstanding, because that whenever they do this in the comics, they always, come up with some really half-baked misunderstanding for the heroes to get into, just so they can justify them fighting, because that's what the fans want, no matter how much the fans complain. But yeah. But still, this one, the conflict between the Avengers and the Guardians really did play out a lot more reasonable. It was much more understandable that everybody took the stance that they did. From the Avengers' point of view, the Guardians were not being reasonable. They're like, look, this is our friend, this is our teammate. We know him, he has a plan, trust us on this. And of course, the Guardians are like, well, your friend isn't showing us the least bit of evidence that he has any sort of plan. All we see is that he's been turned into Galactus' herald and is destroying this planet full of billions of people. So, again, this is really, really nicely written. Although, okay, they say there are 10 billion of those aliens on that planet and that there are millions of spaceships. Okay, exactly how many million people can they get on those spaceships? I'm just kind of wondering because this, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just sort of thinking about this a little too much. You never really want to do math, too much hard math in science fiction stories because 99% of the time it's not going to add up to anything logical or believable. But, And actually, just watching that whole sequence with all those spaceships and things actually vaguely reminded me of Robotech, aka Macross, if you're familiar with that anime stuff. But anyway, overall, I don't think I really have all that much else to say about this episode. Of course, Tony turned out to be right in the end, and this, of course, sends a questionable message. The heroes are all friends at the end. And it probably wouldn't surprise me if the Guardians of the Galaxy turned up in a future episode, given the odds are that their movie is probably going to do pretty darn well at the box office. So, all in all, I'd have to say this has really actually been one of the better episodes this season. It was fun, there was a good conflict, we got to see the Avengers kind of operating in an environment that's not really normally their thing, but still making it work. So, yeah, guys, overall, pretty darn good episode. So, until next time, you can, of course, follow me on Twitter at Who's Your Jedi, and until next time, take care and have a good one.